So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this live stream event. My name is Rebecca. I'm the event planner at the Microsoft Reactor New York location. Before we begin, I want to go through two items, code of conduct and event guidelines. On my screen, I should also mention that I've got the link to check in. We have a few free Learn modules there that cover topics similar to what will be reviewed today, as well as the download for the composer. So if you want to follow along or expand your learning past today's session, do check in, grab those links. They're there for you. It's aka.ms/reactor check-in, and the event ID for this session is 14472. Which brings us to our code of conduct. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and our presenters. So we just ask that as much as we encourage engagement, you be mindful of your commentary and remain professional and on topic. If you are looking to drop some comments into the chat and you haven't been a part of a YouTube session before, do know that you need to create an account to interact over there. So if you haven't done so already, now's the time. Create an account on YouTube and then you can interact in the chat. The session is being recorded. It will be available later on demand. So if you can't stay for the entirety of this session or you want to revisit some of the topic that is covered, you can always find it there. We'll have it probably added to the channel in the next 48 to 72 hours. Which now we're brought to the main event. So the reactor is joined by Veronica Kolnistikova. I'm sorry if I said your name. I hope I got it right. I'll bring you up here on the screen, Veronica. Here we are. Veronica's a senior software engineer and a Microsoft MVP. She'll be showing you a new way of creating smart bots. The session will run for approximately an hour with time for questions. So at this time, I want to welcome Veronica here. You can step in and take over. I'll bring up your slides. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
Of course, welcome.
Okay, hello everyone. Today I will be talking about Bot Composer. It doesn't matter if you are a seasoned bot developer, you created a bunch of bots already, or you're just starting out and you are trying to figure out what kind of tools they are. Bot Composer is something new that Microsoft recently introduced. And that's why I call that session a new way of creating smart bots. And here on the screen, you can see my Twitter handle. So feel free to reach out to me after the session, follow me there. I love technology, post about all the technical fun stuff. So yeah, let's move forward. I want to introduce myself for everyone who doesn't know me. My name is Veronica Kolesnikova. I am Microsoft MVP in AI. I am currently working as a senior software engineer here in Boston, Massachusetts. I have a master's degree in information technology. I started my career as a quality assurance engineer. And then I moved to development, and now I have more than 7 years of development experience. I stopped counting the number of years at some point because I don't want to age myself. I used to work mostly with Microsoft technologies like C#, .NET. I love cross-platform solutions that you can create with Xamarin. I obviously love machine learning, artificial intelligence, all that fun stuff that is available there, all the cool and new stuff. But also recently I started working more with Node.js and Java, and my hobbies are dancing, traveling, and aerial yoga. Now let's move to the actual session, and we'll start with just general understanding what is a bot. There's so many different definitions, so I want us to have that baseline that we all have the same understanding of bots. Maybe just for tonight, but what is a bot altogether? Bot is a piece of software or a tool that can understand what your user wants, and then based on that understanding, provide some answers or perform some actions. So that interactions and understanding, that's the core of every bot. Um, Bot and virtual assistants, are they the same or are they different? I know I have a couple of different sessions about bots and virtual assistants. And I always try to figure out what people think about bots and virtual assistants. I talk to my colleagues about that. We had lots of conversations. Uh, but my personal opinion is that bot is the same as virtual assistant skill. In the core of every virtual assistant skill lays a bot. And bot can be always extended. It can be connected to different channels. You can interact with it through just a pop-up web chat window, or you can use your mobile device, or you can use a special device like the Alexa is available on Echo Dot, so that is special device. Siri is available on mobile devices, available on your PC if you are using a PC. I meant to say Cortana, but I was looking at the slide and I said Siri. You know that Siri was developed by Apple, so Siri is available on all the Apple devices. So if you have a Mac, then you have Siri. If you have PC, you have Cortana. But they are all bots. I also put in here as an example Microsoft Clippy, and that AOL Instant Messenger Smarter Child. I've never used it, I've never seen it, but I know some people, they actually had a chance to use it and work with it. And also, I wanted to mention Tay because it's a really good learning experience, both for Microsoft and for all of us developers and data scientists and everyone who wants to work with bots and machine learning in general. If you don't know who Tay is, basically a couple of years ago, Microsoft released that bot on Twitter and just let it learn from tweets. But within a couple of hours, it actually became unbearable, racist, crazy. It wasn't a nice experience. So Microsoft had to remove Tay really quickly. But as I mentioned before, it's a really good experience, good learning opportunity for everyone, that you need to make sure that you are cleaning the data, you are implementing all those responsible AI tools and techniques, and making sure that your machine learning, which is the core of every bot, is acting responsibly. It is so machine learning is not just a magic box that you can dump all the data and then you get in something beautiful and working and all good. It is basically garbage in, garbage out. So make sure that your data is clean, whether you are building machine learning models, custom machine learning models for a bot, or you are using pre-built models and then you are adding your data there. Make sure that data is correct and it is clean and nice, and there are lots of different techniques to make sure how to make sure that the data is valid, correct, and it is it is suitable for machine learning. But I'm not going to go deep into the data cleaning. I can talk about that for hours, but today we'll talk about bots specifically and Composer as a tool. Before we move to Composer specifically, I want to talk about some Microsoft offers for bot developers. So Composer is not the only one there. Um, uh, Before the Composer, there were a bunch of tools. Now you can mix and match them all together, and it is always a good idea to know what's available overall and how you can use those tools either together or separately and for different tasks. And the first one here is Bot Framework SDK. That's actually in the core of every Microsoft bot tool. Um, uh, that's the base SDK for everything. You can use it yourself if you prefer to write everything from scratch. Maybe you have a lot of experience building bots, and that's what the option that you prefer. Or maybe you just want to just dive in and build your bot from scratch. You just open up your Visual Studio, get the NuGet package, and then start building. They support a couple of languages there, maybe not a couple, maybe more than a couple. I don't want to lie to you right now and tell you how many, but if you're really interested in that core SDK, then definitely check out Bot Framework. It's just interesting to read about it, even if you don't use it directly, but you're going to use it through other offers and other tools. So next one here is Azure Bot, and you probably guessed that you can access Azure Bot from Azure. That's an Azure resource that you can create. I know that it's sometimes it's confusing with the naming, because if you are a seasoned bot developer, or at least you created a couple of bots in your life or using Azure, then you probably heard about Azure Web App Bot, and now I'm talking about Azure Bot. So Azure Web App Bot got deprecated, and the new resource that you need to use for all your bot-related development is Azure Bot. And the cool thing about Azure Bot is that it automatically connects to the Composer. When we go to Azure Portal, I will show you that there's a button now that you can just click, and then your Azure Bot will be open in a Composer right away if it's installed, or it will offer you to install it first. And inside Azure Bot, you can do everything that you need to do with a bot. You can monitor it, you can connect it to different channels, you can deploy to different environments. All the benefits of Azure is there. You can connect it to other Azure resources, databases, cognitive services, and so on. Next one here is Azure Bot Channels Registration. That one, I'm not sure if it still exists separately. I think it wasn't super popular as a separate resource, but definitely double check if it's still available separately, but it's definitely available inside Azure Bot. So you create your Azure Bot, you can connect it to different channels. And by channels, I mean like Telegram and Skype and email. On the left, you can see a couple of examples, but also you can connect to virtual assistants like Alexa, it's an option there, Cortana. By default, you have web chat channel available there. Next one here is Azure Health Bot. That one is specific to health related solutions. If you're building a bot for a hospital or maybe a medical school, a bot that, for example, can help end users to find the right doctor for them, that can be an option. Azure Health Bot is out of the box HIPAA compliant, and it has that base layer of artificial intelligence already implemented. So you don't have to build some of the health related um, points or knowledge bases from scratch. They are available there, but that doesn't mean that you just can pull um, out of the box that Azure Health Bot and just deploy it and be done with it. And it doesn't work like that. It is a good base structure for creating health-related bots, but you definitely need to build on top of it, customize it, because every customer is different, every hospital is different. Um, yeah, I'm sure you all know about that if you are working with customers and developing different solutions. But you will save a lot of time by using the Health Bot. Next one here is Power Virtual Agent, and that is a part of that Power Platform, which is really popular right now. Low code, no code solutions. That is perfect if you have a bigger team of developers and non-developers working together. So you can actually create separate bots. One you can develop, write in code using Composer, using other tools, and then developers or non-developers, they can use that Power Virtual Agent, use little widgets to drag and drop them and create a bot. And then you can connect those 2, 3 different kinds of bots together into a network. So it's really cool that it is available. And then the last one here is Bot Composer. I already mentioned it so many times, and finally I'm mentioning it again. Bot Composer, it's basically an IDE for bot development. It has everything that you might need. You can connect to cognitive services like Lewis and Q&A Maker. You can connect to other bots right there. It has that visual component. So it's really easy to navigate even if you're not a developer. But at the same time, you also have an opportunity to go deeper into the code, and you'll get that all your Visual Studio solution, which you like and maybe you used to work with before. Let's move forward here. And I want to show you that awesome diagram. I think it's one of my favorite ever for virtual assistant. I got it from Microsoft's official documentation. And I think that one actually shows everything that we need to know about a bot or a virtual assistant. You can see in the core, you have bot framework. And then next layer is machine learning layer. Here we have cognitive services, speech, Q&A maker, Lewis, language understanding intelligence service, vision, or you can use your custom machine learning models and then connect your bot framework to those models. Then using Azure Bot service, you can connect your bots to different channels. I already mentioned a couple of them. It's a huge list of different channels. So if you want, you can check it in Azure portal, but there are just lots of them. Okay, and then you can use different input. When you start building your bot, you need to think about your customers. Are they going to use special devices, or they're going to use mobile devices to access your bot? Maybe they just mostly use website and they want that web chat popping up. So you need to think about input. It is not that hard to add it later, but in a lot of cases, you need to think about the dialogues, how are they structured based on the input. Because I saw several bots that were clearly designed for just text input, and then they were kind of converted to the speech part, or it was added later. And it was a little weird because it was something like, oh, you can see there, and when you don't have a screen on your device and you can only hear something, then that won't work. So your customer won't be able to click on something or check something right there, or see something visually when it's only speech. Maybe they use it through a special device again. So going forward with the devices, you can use bots pretty much anywhere you want, at home, at work, through mobile devices, even in your car, in your watch, everywhere you want. So that's really exciting. And then moving forward to the right, you can actually connect your bot or virtual assistant to different knowledge bases, data sources, manuals, general knowledge, all kinds of knowledge and storage and data storages. And then you can connect to customizable skills. So your virtual assistant or bot can send emails, can perform some tasks, maybe can schedule your meeting, or even maybe call your friend or your boss to notify him or her about some changes in the meeting. But the opportunities there, they're just endless. I'm coming up with different scenarios for you, but the options are absolutely endless. You can connect to APIs, you can connect to Office, Graph, and Active Directory. That is also available to for the bot. And then you can connect to third-party assistants. You can connect to call center, or you can connect to other bots and virtual assistants. And as I mentioned before, you can create the whole network of bots or virtual assistant skills that can be connected to each other. So when one bot can provide an answer, it can pass that information along to another bot, and they don't have to be created all at the same time. They can be just connected later, or they can be connected at the same time, but they can be developed through different tools and even using different programming languages. Now I want to move to a more detailed introduction to that Microsoft Bot Composer. Using the Composer, you can create a new bot using templates. There are several templates available out of the box. As far as I know, you can create your own templates. And then you have options to use templates that are more virtual assistant focused or more bot focused. But as I mentioned before, I personally think that bot is a virtual assistant, so you can start with a bot and then upgrade it to a virtual assistant eventually. But if you are specifically targeting virtual assistant, you're building a specific skill, then they have templates that have everything available there. You can also add NLU capabilities, language understanding. That is very important because that's in the core of every bot. If you remember the first second slide that I was showing, where we were talking about the definition of bot. Bot needs to understand what your user wants, and then only based on that understanding, it will provide some information or perform some kind of actions. So language understanding is critical part of every bot, and it's easy to add that to using Composer. You have two main options there, Lewis or Q&A maker from cognitive services. You can use your custom machine learning models. You can use other services, other models, whatever you prefer. Next one here, you can author text and, if needed, speech variation responses for your bot using language generation templates. So you can create several options for each question or for each response. So if a user asks same question over and over, or maybe asks same question in one session and in the second session, it will get the same answer but with different words. So it is more natural sounding. It is not, the bot doesn't repeat itself, which is nice. It's not tiring. It is more interactive and user-friendly. Next, you can author bots in multiple languages. That's always a good option. Lots of languages available that you can use and connect. English available out of the box, and then it's up to you what languages you need or don't need. You can turn them on and off, totally up to you. Next, you can test directly inside your Composer using embedded web chat. You can also test in an emulator if you have an emulator. And you always have an option to deploy it to, okay, moving forward. Yeah, you have an option to deploy to Azure and then also test it there, connect to different channels, test with those channels. Maybe have specific devices to test with. So lots of options to test before you actually release it to your customers. And then you can always extend it. You can extend Power Virtual Agents with Composer. Again, going back to that example, when you have a mixed team and some people prefer to create bots with Power Virtual Assistant, they prefer to create Power Virtual Agents using the Power Platform, and you maybe prefer to use Composer, but you work together and you want to combine those two options. There is an option to actually export that Power Virtual Agent and continue working with it inside the Composer. And then the last here, you can integrate external services such as Q&A Maker, Knowledge Base, connect to different databases. You can also connect to different, include different libraries there. Lots of good options. And now I want to move to workshop. I know I was talking a lot, and I have a big workshop coming up. So I hope we'll go through everything. And let me actually start with Yeah, let me start with the Composer. So if you have the Composer installed, it's time to open it right now. Obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I will try to answer it. Thanks for sharing the link. Yeah, so once you open the Composer, you have lots of good options here. You have documentation, you have samples, so you are not alone. You are not just lost there. But what we're gonna do here, we're gonna create a new bot. And there are actually a couple of options how you can create a bot. As I mentioned before, you can go first to Azure portal and create Azure Bot first, and then open it in the Composer, or you can open the Composer on your local, and then when you're done, you can deploy it to Azure. The second option is in a lot of cases preferable because when you have resources in Azure, that means you are spending your money. Maybe that's not a lot, and it's totally up to you and your customers how you prefer to create it. But for today, I will show you how to create it from the Composer first, and then hopefully we have enough time to actually publish it to Azure. So let me choose this one, core bot with language. This one has it has an option to connect to Luis. You can read about it right here. You can read about all the templates here. So they also have a good link, so you can request a new template. But we'll choose that one today. I am gonna call it Reactor Bot. It's up to you how to call it. There are two options for runtime, Azure Web App and Azure Functions. Totally up to you. I usually leave it default. I haven't tried it with functions, but should be a similar experience. So it takes a couple of seconds to actually create the bot. And we'll see. I don't see any questions in the chat, but feel free to drop a question if you have. And I know I've been talking a lot, and I told you I had a huge workshop that I planned, but if we don't finish everything today, then I can send you the instructions so you can continue yourself later. Or there is also a link to a learn module where you can actually build similar bot yourself using the virtual machine that Microsoft offers inside the Learn module. I don't know why it takes so long. It's always like that, when you are trying to show something really quick, it is taking its sweet time. Let's give it another 10 seconds. And hopefully, yeah, so the more complex template you're using, the longer it takes usually. because it needs to connect a couple of pieces together. Using Lewis, why I decided to use Lewis here, the template with Lewis and not just empty bot. I know in the Learn module they have just empty bot, but here I wanted to use Lewis because it provides a little more that language understanding and more dialogues out of the box, so we can actually save some time by having a couple of more dialogues already pre-built there. But I don't know what's taking so long. Okay. I also have a backup plan, so don't worry about that. If it's not gonna work, then we can just go back to the one I created before, and I'll just walk you through the pre-built bot that I already developed. Okay, so that one moved forward, and we have one step to finish before we can move forward. Set up language understanding, and you can see it's really convenient that it has that get started page, and you can check what exactly you need next. It's important to set up language understanding. We need to create and configure a new Azure resource because language understanding, it's a cognitive service and it will need a resource. So here you select your Azure subscription. I already created the resource group, but you also have an option to create it. Here, unfortunately, you don't have that many regions available, and that's the limitation of Lewis. And then here you just put your name. And okay, so it's already set up. I created a Lewis resource in your resource group for you. It put the authoring key here. So you don't need to do anything else. You can also add Q&A maker if you want. It will also be automatically connected. And then when you connect your bot to Azure bot resource, then you'll have the app ID and the password here. But let's go back to the bot that we have. So out of the box, we have help dialog, welcome dialog, and cancel dialog. It also can recognize unknown intent and error help. So out of the box, we're getting a lot of things available, but we're gonna build a new dialog. So hitting a new dialog, it's gonna be with dialog. You can put a description here if you want. And then here you can actually start building your dialogue. And whether dialogue is going to tell us, is going to ask a user first about the city that they live in, or they want to learn about weather in that city. And then based on the input, it will actually call the weather API and provide the information. So we'll start with getting a prompt, ask a question. Okay, so we are getting, when we are asking a question in a text format, we're getting prompt for text and then user input. In bot response. So it might be a little confusing. It says bot response, but actually that's going to be a question asked by your bot. I'm gonna add, I have a cheat sheet here, so I don't have to type all the questions. From scratch. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna copy them here. And you can enter as many as you want. No, I didn't do it right. Unfortunately, I have to enter them one by one. But we can do that too. And yeah. So I added a couple of responses here, and those are questions just to ask what's the city, and then the user input will be waiting for a user to respond to us, and we need to set up a property here, and the property is gonna be dialog city because we're asking about the city. And then output format, that is really important to use when you have text in order to remove all everything that you don't need in order to process. So here I am gonna trim the value because if there are any empty characters there, in, maybe in front or after, then it's going to just mess up our API call that we are making later. And that's pretty much it. You can also update the expected responses right here. We don't need to do anything with it right now. We'll be adding a new okay, so before adding the HTTP request here, because next we already got the city, and now we're gonna pass that city to API. I wanted to show you where I got the key. So here's the API key for Weather API. So it's a free website where they give you a couple of options. So if you like it later and you want to use it in production, then free layer is definitely not enough, but you can always upgrade it. But for us, for testing purposes and workshops, the free tier is more than enough. So I just got the API. I registered there and I grabbed the API key right from here. And I am going to use it in my bot. So going back here, I already mentioned the HTTP request that we need. Let me find it. Okay, send HTTP request. The HTTP method is gonna be get. We are getting information, and then the URL is gonna be this. So yeah, here I'm using API. Actually go all the way back. So it's API, Weather API. So if you create your account there, you have access to documentation. You know how to actually access the API and how to call it. But yeah, I'm getting current weather. Here's my key that I grabbed from the Weather API website, and then I am passing dialog seating. I don't need body right here, but in headers, I need to, I don't have to update the result property, but for consistency, I want to actually call it, I want to call it in dialog API response. Yeah, but you don't have to update it if you don't want to. I wanted to rename it because I have dialog city here, and it just makes sense to have dialog and then something down the line, so it's not confusing. Next, I am gonna add a branch with if else. It's a condition because I wish all those API calls were returning 200 all the time, but sometimes they are not returning 200. So we need to definitely accommodate for that. I'm gonna add the condition here. There's some pre-built options. I'm gonna write an expression. So that's the expression, pretty much straightforward. We are checking if it's returning 200. You can add other conditions that are important for you or for your API. Maybe you have different codes and you want to process them as well. So if it's 200, we are adding we are setting properties here. Let's set a property. Because we are getting some kind of, if it's 200, then we are also getting some kind of response that we need to use in the dialog. So we need to set up the properties using the values that we are receiving from the API. And I am gonna set up the properties. It's the first one is dialog weather. And the value that I'm getting is that one. So again, when you create your account with Web API and you start exploring the API that is available, you'll see the structure of the response. It's JSON. You can see that inside the response, you have content, current, and then condition and text. So I decided to use that as weather. Okay. So actually, I chose the wrong one. Instead of set up property, we could set up properties, so we would be able to set up several properties at once. But I think the weather is enough since we don't have a lot of time. But you can set up not just one property, but several of them. And then once we set them up, I want to actually send a response. So we can show the user that we actually got something and we can provide a result. So that one is here. So you can see that I'm using dialog city and then dialog weather since I set up the property here, but I didn't set up the temperature property. So I'm going to just remove the temperature for now. We can also add an alternative. Okay. Okay. So I'm not going to set up the alternative since I didn't set up the property, but actually I do want to set up another property. So it's going to be a little more fun to watch how it works. I'm going to set up the dialog icon. So we get a nice picture from the API. Yeah, so it's the same way we set up the previous property. And then when we are returning a response, there is an option to add an attachment here. Then I'm going to add a custom attachment. Or you don't have to do a custom one. You can choose from a list. Okay. You can delete the attachment because I actually chose the new attachment. And here you have out of the box options, which you can use all of them. I'm going to use the thumbnail card. But you know what? When I went to the custom one, I could still copy the thumbnail card code that I have, and it will work. But I just wanted to show you other options that you have out of the box. So that's the one that I need to use. You can see that I'm using title, subtitle, text, and then I'm using the icon to actually have that little cute picture there. Now we're gonna go to the false option, and here I also need to send a response. Otherwise, our user won't know what happened and why he or she didn't get any response. So here I want to have two options. One is more detailed. When we actually return an error message to our users. That actually is important for debugging, maybe when you're trying different things and you want to see the response, the actual message and what happened there. But in most of the cases, you don't need to let your end user know what happened or what happened with the API because they're not going to go and fix it for you. So that's just for your end users and more user-friendly message. And then what I'm going to do next, I'm going to add a trigger to this one. So it will be included in the whole in the whole bot. It won't be just a separate dialogue, not connected to anything. We want it to be connected to the bot. Okay, so it's going to be intent recognized. And let me actually copy the phrases here. Yeah, I just uncommented those. Cut. And you can see that it actually shows you what is working and what is not working. Okay. I'm gonna copy whatever I have. Okay. It is complaining about the city. Yes, because if we want to have city here passed right away in the beginning of the dialogue, we can do it this way. Um, but we need additional setup to actually use this city, so I'm not going to use that option. And we don't need city at all. The name of the trigger is weather. And so here we're just connecting to the dialog that we created. And it's easy as it is, just picking the right one from the drop down. And that's it. You can add additional properties if you want to, but if you don't, that's totally fine. And another good thing that is automatically saved, I want to just start the bot to test that it's actually working. So you can start the bot here and then test it either in the web chat right inside the composer, or you can use the emulator if you have it installed. I do have it installed, but I think just to save the time, we're going to use the web chat option here. Takes a minute to start. But while it's starting, I want to show you the code. So it also generates the code for you. If you don't want to use the composer a lot, or you want to just go and update something in the code that is not available inside the composer. I know it's pretty small here, but that's the but that's the solution that you are getting. You have all the languages, language understanding, language generation. You have all the dialogues available here. You see that even the new one, um, it is all accessible for you. You can update all the media, recognizers. So if you prefer writing code, you have that option here too. Okay, so the bot started, and you can see two options to test it. I'm going to use the web chat. So that information we got from the weather API. It's partly cloudy here in Boston, if that's true. And we can see that thumbnail card with a little image. Definitely, when you build a real solution, make sure that all that text is meaningful, but you can at least see how it all works. And then when you are ready to deploy, you can deploy right from your composer. So you can go to publish, You can create a publishing profile, add a new one, connect to your Azure subscription, and then publish it automatically. It will check what kind of resources you want to publish, because you have a lot of resources. You have the database, you have Lewis was already created for you, but then you have all the bots, let me go back actually and show you. I can show you the one that I built before. Which one is it? This one. So you can see all those resources, they were created for a similar bot. So you get in the Cosmos DB, you get in that Azure Bot resource, language understanding, and then you can have a couple of language understanding. If you add in Q&A Maker, you'll have Q&A Maker there too. And then here inside your Azure Bot, you can connect it to different channels. We already talked about the channels. Yeah, but there are lots of channels that you connect to. You can test it here again. So lots of good options there. And once you download your composer, you can create new bots. You can configure them, you can test them, you can have access to all your dialogues. And it's really convenient that it has actually that visual part, so you can see how the dialogue is structured, if it's convenient, if it's not convenient, if it's natural. And then you also have an option to connect to different languages there as well. I know I am running a little over, so I am gonna stop right now and I am ready for some questions.
Hey there, let's pull this one up. We had a question from Power GI. When is it better to use the bot composer against Power Virtual Agents?
Oh, that's a good question.
Hard hitting.
Yeah, it's totally up to you. I think Composer actually offers you more. So if you're a developer, if you are used to working with bots in a certain way, like I did, I actually started a couple of years ago when I was using just Visual Studio and creating dialogues inside there. And then when Microsoft introduced Composer, I really like that option that I have a visual part where I can see the dialogue flow, the structure, connect different parts together, and then connect to different libraries and lots of options. But at the same time, I still have that option to go and write code and update it. Power Virtual Agent doesn't offer the same level of customization. It is more that drag and drop option, low code, no code. It is faster. It is easier to create, but again, it's up to you what you prefer, what is more useful for your project. If it's you need to create something small and simple, or it's going to be something more complex. And for more complex, I would recommend Composer.
Awesome. We got a lot of thank yous in the chat as well. Glad you all enjoyed that. Thanks for tuning in. We'll give it a few more minutes, Veronica, if you've got a couple minutes to hang out. And I'll just quickly run through our reactor wrap up here. So I shared with you in the chat our survey. We always ask this. If you've attended any of our sessions, you know it's the usual thing we go for at the end here. We do use that feedback for kind of sourcing future content. We like to know who you are and what you're hoping to gain from all of these sessions. The Reactor puts out free content almost on a daily basis. Depending on where you are in the world, there's always something happening. We've got 11 physical spaces in different places around the world, so we're doing sessions in all those different time zones. Which brings me to the next slide. So, we're on Meetup. You can find us there. If you're not maybe directly located in that space right now, we're virtual. So if you don't live in New York City, but you're in one of the surrounding states, time zone works out. So feel free to sign up to our Meetup there, see the events there. We also have a calendar and a main website, microsoftreactor.com. You can search specifically for topics you're interested in, and then depending on what your time is, you might be able to attend things in opposite ends of the world, if you're a morning person or a late night person, that sort of thing. And yeah, we have a monthly newsletter. We send that out at the start of each month. We don't overspam you or anything. We just send you that once a month. And that's aka.ms/reactor email sign up. You can do that. And we're on Twitter, as many people are these days. So we post usually some of our lesser known events and sessions that we want to bring to your attention. So find us there, add us, tweet about us, let everybody know there's this free content that we put out all the time. Check it out. And then, just a little info slide there, just the locations that we are located in. So eventually we will return back to in-person. We'll most likely have a hybrid session going. Some of our locations, I think, already are potentially doing in-person, or they're almost there. So, check us out. Join us if you haven't heard of us before. More people, the merrier. And if you don't have any questions at this time, I think we'll call it a wrap. Thank you so much, Veronica. This is great. If you have any final remarks or anything, otherwise we'll wrap it up.
Thank you. It's great.
So thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your day, your evening. For us, we're on the East Coast, so it's getting late here. We'll call it a night. Take care, everyone.